Hey there everybody, we're at day 365 of our seclusion, or that's what it feels like anyway. So today I'm going to start with a brand new mannequin and show you how to start with your perimeter, and then we're going to go into the 120. So as you can see, this mannequin is extremely thin on the ends. So there's no need for sectioning unless I was going to cut it up into the thick part. But since I'm only going to cut the real wispy, thin ends off, I'm not going to have to take subsections with this. I am going to section the mannequin into 3 sections, going from the high point of the head. Remember, that's called the apex. So when you do that, you want to make sure you're not going past that, because if you go past it, that means this hair is not laying where it lives. You would be over-directing it to the front. So that's the reason why you need to watch your subsections. It divides the hair up into where the hair actually has a natural falling lay. So we're going to get started. I'm going to go ahead and put the front 2 sections up. Remember that your body position is so important, because if you stand with one shoulder dropped, you're not going to be able to cut as even. So you need to make sure that your feet are set, your knees are loose, and your feet are spread about hip width apart, so that will keep you from getting stress on your body, any more stress than we already do. So you want to make sure you comb and comb and comb. If the hair is tangled, use the wide teeth to work out some of those tangles, and then move into use the fine side and comb that hair. Because any hair that you don't comb out and lay smooth, what's going to happen is that hair is going to be longer than the rest of the hair. You also want to tilt this head down, because by tilting the head down, the haircut's going to have a natural beveling or undercut, because this hair has to travel a little further than the hair underneath. If you cut the hair with the mannequin up, this hair will tend to get a little longer and kick the hair out. So if you want the hair to lay straight or slightly cupped under, you want to tilt the head forward. So when your client is positioned in the chair, you want to make sure that they are sitting straight up in the chair and their back is up against the back of the chair, because that will make them be able to tilt their head better. If they're sitting like this, they can't tilt their head very well. But if they're sitting like this, look at the difference. And that's going to give a lot difference in your haircut. So we're going to begin by tilting her head down, making sure it's combed very smooth. And I'm going to start with about the middle, 3/4 of an inch wide subsection. And I'm going to part that off like that. If you feel like you can't handle this much hair, then go ahead and do your subsections. You see, if I was cutting up here, it's too much hair to cut. But down here, it's very thin. So it's not very much hair to control here. So I'm going to shift her. I'm going to comb and comb. Always palming your shears. Comb, comb. Bring it down. When you place that comb, you're going to put your fingers on the top of the comb, then you're going to slide both of them down. Go to where you want to cut, stop, remove the comb. If you do this, you see how gnarly that hair will be? What we're going to do is, you see I'm holding the hair between the tip of my finger and the second knuckle. So what you need to do is, if you hold the hair back here, you're not going to have any tension. So by holding the hair up here, you have a lot more tension. And tension is going to give you a more precise haircut. Do you see how I turn my hand down to the floor? That keeps me from flipping my fingers up. If you flip your fingers up, what's going to happen is you're going to cut the hair longer underneath and shorter on top and make the hair kick up. I'm making sure that my comb is horizontal to the floor, that it's also pointed straight. If my hand goes down, you can see what cut I'm going to get. If my fingers go up, you can see what kind of cut I'm going to get. People that are right-handed tend to cut like this when you're a beginner. People that are left-handed tend to cut like this. So in order to make sure that we keep it straight across and even, we are wanting to keep our hands parallel to the floor and directly pointed. Now I'm going to open my shears up, and you see how I've overlapped my fingers? This gives me a straight line. So I'm going to open my shears up. I'm going to slide the blade underneath the hair, and I'm going to cut. You see how nice and smooth and neat that section is? Okay, so now I have established my guide with this section. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to split it in half. I'm just going to place that here. You can use a clip if you need to and clip that hair out of the way. What we're going to do is take we're going to join another 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch. You see where my guide is established. I've combed the hair smooth. I slide down. I'm checking to make sure my fingers are pointed directly horizontal. I can even lift it up once I've got it connected and it's locked in, it's not going anywhere. So if I need to move my hands, I can do that. If I don't pull the guide down exactly where I need to, I can either cut longer than my guide or shorter than my guide. So it depends on where your fingers are and how you lay them. So you just need to make sure that you're not cutting into your guide. Then I'm going to repeat, and I'm pulling this hair straight down. It's going to be straight across the back of her body. So I'm going to comb it, insert my hand, insert my comb it down. Okay. I'm going to comb it and comb it. I put my comb in, I put my fingers in. I slide it down. When I get to my guide, I remove my comb. I line up my guide. I make sure that my fingers are pointed straight across. I insert my shears, I cut, and I cut. This is my last section on the left-hand side of the head. I'm going to comb and comb. Now, one thing you want to make sure is that you don't chop, 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 chop. You want to open, cut, open, cut. When you chop, 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 what you're doing is making little bitty edges. So when you cut, you want to open your blade, slide your blade, cut. Open your blade, slide your blade, cut. All right, now I've completed the left side of this mannequin's head. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to drop this section down. I'm going to leave out about 1/2 inch of my guide that I started with. And I'm going to continue on the other side of the head in the same manner. When you're doing this haircut, you want to stay behind the mannequin. If you move, what's going to happen If you take a step and move, you're going to be cutting this way. You're not going to be cutting like this. So by standing directly behind the mannequin, you are going to do a straight across haircut. The moment you step, do you see my angle to the mannequin now has changed? So I'm going to come back to the center subsection, which was my guide. I'm going to find my guide. I'm going to make sure my fingers are pointed horizontal. Open my blade, slide, and cut. Now, all I'm going to do is do exactly what I did on the other side. If this hair gets in your way, you're welcome to clip it as you go. You're just going to continue in the same manner, taking another 1/2 inch subsection. You're going to comb that hair thoroughly, and you're going to line it up, and you're going to cut. So you want to watch your body position. Your hand position is of the utmost importance. All right, when you're done and completed your right side, what you're going to do now is you are going to finger balance. So we're going to put our client's head back up. We are going to take the far edges of the sections. I'm going to bring it down, and I'm going to line it up right dead center. So now this side seems to be longer and shorter than this side. And very well could be. But it could also be that this mannequin's hair is wispy. So I'm going to double check before I start to think I need to cut more. See the difference? This side of her hair is very wispy and very little hair. So that can throw you off. Then you can always look at it like this, and it is. It's a little bit longer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back through this side, and what I might have done is I dropped my hand. So you can see, look, it just ever so slightly gets a little bit longer. And students have a tendency to get one side longer than the other, then they go cut it, and then they get that side shorter. So be careful, because you end up cutting the whole head off. So I'm just lining that up, and see, one tiny 1/8 of an inch off here could mean 1/4 of an inch off here. And see the difference? Look how much it was off. Now I'll come back, I'll finger balance it, I'll tilt your head up, I'll finger balance it again, and then I'm going to look at it from side to side. There we go. All right, we have completed the back 2 quadrants of our mannequin, and I have turned her. I'm staying in the same spot. I'm turning my mannequin. So either your mannequin has to move or you have to move, one of the two. So because we're using a traveling guide, a stationary guide would go all the way back and we'd stay right where we established that guide. But this is a traveling guide. I'm going to take that guide with me. So what I've done is I've left the mannequin tilted over a little bit so I can still keep my undercut. When you're working on a live client and she has long hair, if you will take their chin to their shoulder and make sure their chin's not pointed down or pointed up, but kept horizontal, and just tilt their head back a little bit, you have a free space to cut. And we have to be careful with people's bodies not touching their bodies. So we want to just make sure that we can keep a level cut straight across. Because you'll see people with long hair in the back and short hair in the front, and then they turn around and you go, oh, they've got long hair. So we want to keep this where she's got lots of hair in front of her ears. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring my guide from the back section, and you can see how that guide wants to tilt down. It's because we cut the hair pulled back. So I'm going to bring that section, and I'm going to bring it down, and I'm going to find my guide right there. I'm going to make sure my fingers are horizontal. But you can see how wispy these mannequins are. Just not that full at the bottom. Remember to always thoroughly comb that hair. Sometimes even when it's this wispy, you might have a harder time getting it even because you can't even hardly see there's just a few hairs to cut. Okay, now we're just going to repeat on the other side. The comb this side hair right here down. We're going to make sure her head is not pointed this way, because if it is, I'm going to be having a angled cut. If her head's pointing up, tilted back, what's going to happen is it's going to get shorter. So all I want to do is just make sure that her head is horizontal, her nose, her chin, and that I'm cutting horizontal. Then the last thing I'm going to do for the 0 degree haircut is I'm going to finger balance it again. Remember those strings. So we have to watch out for those little strings in case we missed them. And that combing thoroughly, remember, catches all that hair and brings it to the same length. So this hair is a little over-directed because this hair natural fall is right here. But in order to keep this long as the back and not angled at all, I have to over-direct it to the side. Because it has to travel further, it will keep its length. Once you have tilt your head back even, finger balance it. When it's even, then you're ready to go. And that is the completion of a 0 degree haircut.